this is Patrick with the Mad Bros Media Zoom show. And today we have a very special guest, Scott Schiaffo. Hey, what's going on, Scott? You may have known
Pat.
You may have seen him in Clerks, Vogue, and many other indie films. He's also a very talented composer and author.
Thank you so much, Pat. It's great to be here.
So how you been through the COVID?
Oh, gosh. Well, I feel very, very fortunate and blessed that I had a couple of films actually get released during 2020, and I shot something during 2020 as well, which pretty amazing. What the director did was we shot our own segments with our own cameras, and he was on a Skype call on the phone directing us. It was all remote, but it came out great. Bizarre, right?
Yeah.
And but I feel fortunate during COVID. I did stay fairly busy, but it's been crazy. This is just madness.
Have you had a chance to go out and do anything since the COVID started?
Well, we
like hang out at your favorite restaurant or anything like that, or get any?
No, we have not
friends?
Been. My significant other and I have not been to a movie or to a restaurant since this started. I guess where we've been really locked down. A film called Wit's End had a screening last August, and we went to that with masks and gloves. But aside from that event, as far as a live event, I have not been doing much at all. But that's going to change now, right?
Yeah, hopefully by the end of the year.
Sure.
What's you're in New York, right?
Well, I'm in New Jersey.
New Jersey, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Northern New Jersey. I'm like 10 minutes.
So have you haven't gone to the new stash yet, right? Because they just opened a brand new Jay and Bob, Sal and Bob's Secret Stash.
I know. Ernie O'Donnell was working on it for a while, and I'm looking forward to seeing it.
You know what? I was thinking about this morning and said, you know what? They don't have any Chulies, or they don't have the Chulies guy's shirt or merchandise. You need to talk to Kevin and say, hey, I should have some merchandise too. Everybody else got their merchandise. Movie's got it. Jay's got it. Well,
there's a lot of merch and a lot of figurines. But if you notice, from the original Clerks, you got Jay, Bob, Dante, and Randall, but you never had any of the women.
Yeah, too. We don't have Veronica.
There's no Marilyn. There's no Veronica. There's no Caitlin.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know how big a fan you are, but did you see Yoga Hosers?
Yes, yeah, I saw Yoga Hosers. I think they have some stuff at Yoga Hosers too, but
right. Well, they had a big Chulies gum in the back of the store, big sign.
Yeah, you know what? I've only seen it once, so maybe I'll have to go back and look at it again.
It comes and goes pretty quickly, but when people were reaching out to me, because I went to see it, but when people were reaching out to me saying there's a big Chulies gum placard in the store, which I thought was wonderful.
Speaking of which, I just Kevin had just done an anatomy of a scene with you and the Clerks scene, and said that he wants to make Chulies a reality gum. Did you hear about that? Did you see that?
I don't recall him talking about actually making the gum. I did. Excuse me. Of course, I did see the scene segment where now he's doing. He's going over certain scenes from his films, but I didn't see the part about the gum. But
yeah, he wants to make he said he made movies a reality. Now he wants to make the Chulies gum reality. So I was just wondering, is he going to have you do commercials if the Chulies gum will exist?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. That would really be pretty hairy. But we did Wizard World virtual about a month ago. It was me, Brian O'Halloran, and Marilyn Gigliotti. And then Jay and Bob sort of photobombed, and they came into the video, which was awesome. But Kevin had mentioned that there's a really good chance in Clerks 3 you're going to see a lot of the older cast. So that was exciting.
I think he said, everybody that was on that panel was going to be there. So I know he said that, you're an important part because you're actually the first person in the sequence of Clerks. I mean, not just Dante, but the interaction. The first person that Dante has to deal with is you.
Right. Yes, I you know what, we were doing a Q&A not too long ago, and somebody pointed that out, that because the View Askew universe now is so vast with so many characters,
Uh-huh.
but the very first two characters you ever get to meet from the View Askew universe are Dante's dog,
Uh-huh.
and me. So it's pretty cool. It's a really cool distinction.
And then the same in Voger. As soon as he goes to do a party, it's cuts right to you on the ground. So it's like
Yeah,
you both are
yeah.
interacting in both movies in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. And both times going head to head with Brian, which has been a
Uh,
lot of fun because we're friends. We've
uh,
become good friends in real life.
Now you started off as a musician when you were younger, right?
That's correct.
What drew you to drama from being a musician and getting into the acting?
Well, towards the end of high school,
Mm-hmm.
I sort of got an acting bug, and I worked on some theater projects in high school. And shortly after high school, I really started to get the bug, primarily, and we're going back a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Saturday Night Live was still, I don't want to say new, but it was not long after Belushi had left. I was old enough to remember that. I was in high school. I was in high school when he died, unfortunately. But I started to really gravitate to sketch comedy. And I ended up being very fortunate I got a guest spot on a community access channel
Mm-hmm.
playing classical guitar. And the
Nice.
producer liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "How about you do a segment every week?" He thought it would be music. I came back and I asked if I could do sketch comedy.
Mm-hmm.
It was completely opposite of what he wanted, but he was happy to have us. So I got the bug there, and I've always loved film. I've always the two loves of my life are music and film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw some of your clips on your site. There's some really good stuff and some really funny, like the I got the stuff, yo. I was cracking up with that little piece. It's pretty funny. And then you have Girls Night Out, which is
Right.
more serious. So you have a really good versatile acting bug.
I feel like I'm really blessed.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to have been cast both as a character actor, and
Mm-hmm.
occasionally I'm a leading man, and occasionally it's drama, occasionally it's comedy, and I just am, happy to take it all on as long as I feel I could bring something to the character and the script.
Cool. Who would be your like role model for acting?
Gosh, there's a lot of guys, a lot of guys. The guys that I grew up really, really admiring are probably the usual suspects: De Niro, Pacino,
Mm-hmm.
Jack Nicholson, Dustin Hoffman. A lot of the guys that came up in the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
where they sort of broke the mold of what a leading man can be. Old school Hollywood, a leading man was just this impossibly good looking guy. But then leading men became what you would call the guy next door.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the actors that really helped forge that. Um, More modern day, into the 80s, I was really taken with the early films of anything that Mickey Rourke has done.
Yeah.
Angel Heart's one of my all-time favorite films.
Mm-hmm.
Diner.
Hope of Greenwich Village.
Public.
Yeah.
I saw
Him
that
and
in the
Eric
theater.
Roberts, those scenes with him and Eric Roberts are classic.
I young enough I saw it in the theater
Mm-hmm.
and was just like, I mean, Rourke he has a quality. He just explodes through the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, if you had the chance to work with Mickey Rourke, what movie would have? And I know you said you would have loved to work on Angel Heart, but if you had a chance to work on one of his movies with him, what movie would that be?
Oh, I mean, it would probably be Angel Heart, although
Uh,
there weren't too many roles that would be open for me now that I think about it. I mean, that's him and De Niro
Hmm.
and some really fabulous character actors. Um, it would have been great to have been in Diner.
Yeah.
Diner, is a very fun movie. And again, that came out when I was in high school, and
Hmm.
we could really relate to it, my buddies and I, just a bunch of guys sitting around the diner talking.
Hmm.
That would be one of them too.
Yeah. Looking through my notes really quick here.
Sure.
There was a oh, don't shoot.
Don't shoot.
I know you said that was one thing you didn't like, but I was curious. If you had the chance to rewrite it, would you rewrite it to make it more of a modern character for your age? Because you said it was a 20. When you wrote it, it was like a 20 something, and then you shot it as in your 40s.
Right. Well, the story behind that is I actually wrote the script in my
Mm-hmm.
20s, late 20s, early 30s. And we never did anything with it. It was a
Mm-hmm.
short. We were going to shoot a short in the hopes that we would get funding to turn it into a feature. And then Michael P. Russin, who I've worked with a few times over the years, and I'm very happy with the films I've done with him, Idiots Are Us and Creepy Tales and Girls Night Out. He said, listen, let's do this now that we can do it. And it didn't dawn on me just how different, the dynamic was
Mm-hmm.
for that leading character. That leading character really needed to be in his late 20s, early 30s for you to have empathy for him. A man in his mid to late 40s, uh, who's still that kind of lost, not a terrible thing. It could happen to anybody, but
Mm-hmm.
it went against the intention of the film. And although we're very fortunate, we won a couple of awards for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very, very critical of myself.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, if I were to do that again, I would just put somebody else in that role and I would play the older mobster guy. That would be more age appropriate.
Uh-huh. Well, most great actors are very critical of themselves, but they end up giving like the best performances when they think they're not that great. And you're one of those actors that's like, well, I'm not that, I wasn't that good. You end up giving a great performance.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
kind.
Make sure I get this the right title. You also are an author. Vicious Dogs Attack Me in Sleepless Nights of Summer. How did you come up with that title?
Okay, well, the story behind the book and the title,
Uh-huh.
that's the title of one of the poems. It's a book of collected poems and short stories
Mm-hmm.
that were written in the mid 80s up to the middle to late 90s, almost like a 10 or 12-year period. Um, no secret, I had a severe alcohol and drug problem for quite a lot of years. And the one thing I would end up doing, or almost the only thing I was capable of doing sometimes, was writing down my thoughts. It was almost like a journal, like an
Mm-hmm.
alcoholic's journal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then it's a blessing I'm sober now many years.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody had said to me not long ago, why don't we clean up that collection of poetry? And it would make a nice collection of prose and tales that people could see where you came from. A lot of that was written during the time we were shooting Clerks.
Mm-hmm.
So the one beautiful thing about that collection, and it was just released on Audible,
Mm-hmm.
thanks to COVID, I had nothing but time to sit and do the reading of the Audible. One really wonderful takeaway, which was never intended, is that a lot of people found some kind of positive recovery message in the book. But that was never the intention, because the book doesn't apologize for the addicted lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't promote it. It kind of just is. But I guess as a result of the fact that I did make it through, and with grace, nothing but grace and a lot of people behind me, I eventually sobered up. I mean, I'm no angel, but I don't drink anymore. I haven't drank in this 4th of July, it'll be 15 years.
Good. You know, I think I think that book is really unique because a lot of people now they get creative by getting high, smoking, pot. But something like that, having your thoughts after, was it after or during when you were drinking?
The actual writing?
Yeah, the writing. Was it like after an afterthought, after like, oh man, or like the hangover?
Well, hangovers are a strange thing when you're truly an
Mm,
alcoholic. You rarely experience them because you keep drinking.
mm,
Okay. I was that kind of drinker. I was a binge drinker.
mm,
It was horrible. I was the walking dead. I'd drink for days at a time and literally go MIA. Um, a lot of it was done during the haze, and a lot of it was done just in between the haze, and
mm,
some was done just as the haze was beginning. So I was in all levels of, and the book title says that,
mm.
a collection of prose and streams of semi-consciousness, because I was really in a state for a lot of the book.
Uh-huh. Now, when I was watching the podcast too, I saw some of the drawings, which is really, really breathtaking. I mean, there's this imaginative, the illustrator. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but the
Scott
illustrator for your
Meany,
book he's really good.
Scott
And
Meany, yeah, he's phenomenal. I
yeah,
love the guy. He's not only worked with me as an artist, but we've become good friends over the years. Scott Meany, the
Scott,
art of
yeah.
Scott Meany can be found on Facebook. Yeah, he and I actually did a film with him that
Hmm.
he directed called The Puppet Apocalypse,
Oh
which
yeah.
is one of the most fun things I've ever done. And it's really kind of funny to get to be a character that throughout the course of a film, you start off human and then you get turned into a puppet.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. But Scott Meany is a
Wow.
genius. I say that he's an artist's artist. He's
Wow.
really the real deal.
Have you guys talked about making a movie from the book?
We actually talked about turning the book into a series of vignettes
Mm,
because the book doesn't read like a biography or at all.
yeah.
It's basically a bunch of, I mean, some of the stories are related, some of them aren't. There's one very long piece in there, not very long, but
Mm,
for this book, it was long. It's a piece called Low, and he was thinking of directing that with actors, but the actors would be going through the actions of the poem as you heard a voiceover. But, I don't know. There's just so many. Again, I feel so blessed to be busy with a lot of
mm,
different things. And working with Scott is always really gratifying. He's now working on another puppet thing.
mm,
And the name is slipping me and I feel terrible. But if you look up anything on my Facebook or Scott Meany,
mm.
you'll see he's got a holiday special coming with puppets. And I did
Cool.
some music for that.
Yeah. Speaking of, you're a composer as well. When you compose music for a film, do you watch the film first, or do you have it just composed and you just have the idea? He tells you the director tells you the idea, or the writer tells you the idea, and then you compose it just before it's completed.
Well, that's an interesting question because it happens a number of different ways.
Mm,
And the reason why that is, at least for me, is it depends on how the director likes to work,
mm,
the director and the producer, and it depends on budget. Um, I have a giant library of music. I've been playing since I'm 7 years old, and I've
mm.
been recording since I'm 15 years old. So I've got literally hard drives full of
Wow.
pre-recorded music that if they give me a mood, I'll give them something that's already done
Hmm.
and they'll say, well, maybe they'll just use it outright as it is, or they'll make some tweaks to it.
Hmm.
Um, and then there's the ones where I'm at the keyboard, literally watching the
Hmm.
film like a love scene.
Uh-huh.
and literally playing the piano to the film, which that is the most gratifying and awesome way to do it. That's certainly the more traditional Hollywood way to do it. You're literally cutting it to frame as opposed to laying in an already existing piece of music. So there's a movie that came out last year that I'm very proud of the score. It's called Wit's End, David Madison film. It's on Amazon now. It's on all of the platforms. But I got to do a wide array of music because a large part of the movie, there's no dialogue. It's a guy that's, I don't want to give too much away, but there's not a lot of dialogue. Man against nature. So it's a lot of nature. A lot of opportunity for music.
Now you have a CD, Shoestring Serenade, which actually has a lot of royalty-free music, right?
That's correct. It's all you buy the CD, and then you could reuse any of the music on there. What I asked for credit, but nothing else. And even that isn't a deal breaker because the majority of the money from that record goes to the Angels of Animals, which is a rescue up here in northern New Jersey. So I wanted to find a different way to a slightly different twist to releasing music because the business has changed so much over the years. And the fact that discs are dying and everything's downloads and streaming, I wanted to try to do a twist on it. So I took about an hour and a half, maybe it's not that long, maybe about an hour worth of collected works of music I have done for other films throughout the years and put it on the CD so that when you buy that or download it, however you purchase it, you can use any of that in your own. Some people use it in their podcasts, in a film, as a background to a commercial, whatever. So I tried to do a little something unique with it.
I looked at it. It's on Amazon for people who want to get it. How many tracks are on that CD or that album?
Oh gosh, there's quite a lot because some of them are literally only 2 or 3 minutes long. There's at least 18, if not more. It's crazy. I don't know my own record, but I've got 2 of them here. Let's see. I don't know. I know that the glare is pretty bad, but this is the audio book.
Okay.
Oh, I keep it so dark in here I can't even see. But there's quite a lot of tracks.
Cool.
There's at least there's 24 tracks in all. So that's a lot of different types of music to choose from. There's orchestral music, there's piano music, there's guitar music.
Yeah.
And over the years, I've been very fortunate to get to stay in the business by doing other things other than acting. And scoring films was another way to keep in the business and not always have to be front and center.
Right. Well, let me get to a clerk's question here. The Chulies guy, how come we never found out his name? Did he have a name and did he have a backstory?
No name, no backstory. The way I approached it and the way it's written to be bombastic and stand out. So again, keep using the word blessing, but for a character actor, for any actor, if you did not get one of the lead roles in Clerks, the Chulies guy for a male was one of the really sweet character roles. And I was fortunate to get it because it's written to stand out. It's right at the beginning of the movie and it's madness. It's a riot. So, but to answer your question, no, I didn't delve into backstory for him per se. What I did do was play it as drama, which is why it's probably, why people find it so funny. Because the Chulies Gum guy is deadly serious.
Yeah.
Till he gets caught.
Yeah.
then the jig is up. But I didn't play it for laughs
Uh,
as much as I played it for seriousness. And in the uncut version of the film,
mm,
it's on the Xbox, the Clerks 10th
yeah.
anniversary, and I think it's out on the Blu-ray now and everything. There's the Kevin's original cut of the film. The Gum Guy stuff is a little bit longer by about maybe 2 minutes, but he goes into a couple of different rants. So I got so used to the uncut one because he sent
Mm,
that to us and we lived with that VHS for about a
uh,
year almost until the film came out. And then the Miramax version, it was a slightly different edit of the Gum Guy. But no backstory on that guy, no name even. People ask me what was on the card that I hand her, and that was that I hand Marilyn Gigliotti, Veronica. That was one of my own personal acting cards.
no. Oh, 'cause I was wondering what did it say on the card? But how much how much did you ad lib on that character, and how much freedom did Kevin give you for that, or did Kevin say, oh, "This is how I want it from the script"?
Zero ad lib.
Okay.
Um, Kevin is a phenomenal writer, which we
Mm,
all know now.
oh,
Granted, it was his first film. We were all much younger and we were all looking for more experience. But after I got to meet him and have a few conversations with him, I knew we were in good hands. He was so much more, he was really wise for his age
yeah.
and great with words, has a great vocabulary. And his script and his verbiage, that really means the world to him. In fact, Kevin has said over the years that he hears the film before he sees it, almost like a comedy album. Now, later on, he's allowed actors to have fun with it, loosen it up, do some improv. But there was no room for that with Clerks because the budget was so tight.
Mm,
You only got one or two, three takes tops to nail it and get on to the next scene. So it wasn't an atmosphere for much ad libbing. So that's almost lick for lick,
uh,
his actual words.
and how surreal was it to go back and do shooting clerks? Not playing the same character or seeing the same character, but playing his father. Did he
Oh,
have long talks with you about how his father was? How did you research for the role of his father, Don?
well, I didn't really have as much access to Kevin as I did Ernie O'Donnell, who plays Rick Derris.
Mm-hmm.
And Ernie O'Donnell is a childhood friend of Kevin's.
Mm-hmm.
So he spent a lot of time around the family.
Yeah.
And I talked with him a lot about, because I was very nervous because we all know what an important figure
Mm-hmm.
Don Smith was in Kevin's life. And he talks about him in the Q&As a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to do it justice. I think the guy was a sweetheart of a guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he supported Kevin, not so much with rah rah, but with just yes rather than a no. Give it a
Yeah.
shot, give it a try. He planted the seed for films in Kevin at a young age, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a beautiful story. I mean, Kevin's career is had the trajectory of uh, a career. He's 25 years still in the public eye, making movies and writing
Yeah.
books and doing podcasts. So Don Smith was a really important figure in Kevin's life, and I just wanted to do him justice. He's not on screen that much,
Mm-hmm.
it's little bursts, but it was in the attitude more, in the vibe more than it was in a tremendous amount of dialogue. And Kevin would say his father wasn't a man of many words, but when he spoke, he chose them carefully and he really meant everything he said. So
Wow.
I
And
had that going in.
I heard that he had got emotional when he saw you on the screen. So I think that's a good thing. That's a
Yeah, and honestly, I didn't personalize that as
yeah.
much as I think I had a bit of the look going,
Mm,
and I captured some of the somber, not somber, but I captured his father as that
mm,
serious, supportive person. And I think Kevin was overwrought with joy that filmmakers actually did the story of how he shot that movie.
mhm.
And it was all with love, it was all with a big heart.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, that was really touching that it touched him so much.
that's good. Um, Now I know you said you were in and out of touch with Kevin through the years, but was there a film of his that you say, "Oh man, I wanted to be in that movie," like Dogma or Strikes Back? Was there any of those movies that you wanted to be in that you wish you were in?
Well, we've all gone on and done a lot of different things. In the mid to late 90s, I
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of doors open up to me thanks to Clerks. I
Yeah.
shot a feature film with Michael DiLorenzo,
Mm-hmm.
who was a big star. He's been a big star various times throughout his career.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was on New York Undercover, which was
Yeah.
a top show on Fox. Um, so I kept busy, but there wasn't like a role that I thought, oh, wow, I wish I should have had that, or I wish Kevin would have thought of me for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember seeing Red State
Uh-huh.
and thinking there would have been something in Red State I would have loved to have done. Um, and I forget the name of the characters, but I guess it
Uh-huh.
was the denizens of the church. There was a lot of character work done, the little army of church maniacs that I
Mm-hmm.
thought would have been a great role for me to have
Yeah.
played. But if Kevin or anybody from Kevin's world calls,
Yeah.
it's like family. It's a
Yeah.
yes before I see anything.
Do you have anything new you're working on, I guess, as far as composing or um like
Well,
writing?
I at the very moment I got a con coming up in June.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the 90s Fan Fest. It's virtual though.
Mm-hmm.
But film and music wise, I did have a busy 2020, and a
Uh-huh.
lot of that stuff is just starting to come out.
Uh-huh.
Wits End
Yeah.
with David Madison and Brian O'Halloran is also in Wits End, can be found on Amazon. Um, Darkness Waits, which is a wonderful horror. I mean, I don't know if I'd call it horror. It's a mix of horror and thriller
Mm-hmm.
by Libby McDermott and Matt Stolley, Libmatic Productions, Libmatic
Mm-hmm.
Films. Darkness Waits. It's their sequel to a film they did called Dead Woman's Hollow.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to play the sheriff, a fairly seedy sheriff
Mm-hmm.
of the town who doesn't want to admit that there's a lot of unresolved murders going on. So that film was a joy to work on, and it really came out well. That's fairly new, and that's out on both Blu-ray and on Amazon and on a bunch of platforms. Tom Zanka did a web series called The Deep State,
Mm-hmm.
which could be found on YouTube, which I did the music for, and I have a very small character role.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been blessed to keep busy during COVID. I'm curious to see where we go from here. It's a crazy time. I mean, we've never experienced anything like this,
Mm-hmm.
taking a day at a time. I've personal friends who have lost family members.
Yeah, here too.
So, yeah, I mean,
So,
it's a
yeah,
horrible thing.
I'm hoping, the light will shine and we'll get better and we can go and actually hang out in cons and talk to people and take pictures and,
And not
just
think twice about it.
hang out and have coffee and stuff like that.
Right. And not have to think twice about it.
Yeah.
Well, brother, I'm literally losing my voice.
All right. Well,
You
do you
got
think you
something you
can
want?
end it out with a little musical piece?
Sure. This
All right.
this piece of music was for Tom Zanka's Deep State. It's
Okay.
just it's a haunting little melody.
right. That's great. That's beautiful.
Thank you. That's the main. It's short and sweet, but
Mhm.
it's plays throughout, and it serves a lot of purposes. Sometimes it's played by a violin.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it's played by string, not like a string section, and sometimes it's just the haunting piano.
Cool. Well, I don't want to kill your voice, so we'll end it here for now
That's
until we can
great.
meet in person. That'd
Listen,
be
I want
great.
to thank you very much. You did a phenomenal job.
Why, thank you. And it was great to have you on. And you're also a first guest on our podcast series, Kevin's Kids, which is devoted to Kevin Smith and all the iconic classic characters and actors he created within his USQ universe. So thank you, Scott, for being on our show. This has
Well,
been
you got
Patrick
it.
with Mad Bros Media Zoom. And also listen to Scott and me talking on Kevin's Kids on the Mad Bros Media Zoom podcast. All right.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you,
man.
Scott.